Close your eyes for just a second. Like, even if you're listening to this thousands of miles away from Georgia right now, you probably know the exact sensory landscape we're about to step into.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. It's that sweet, almost intoxicating scent of pink dogwoods and azaleas in full bloom. It's the blindingly green, just flawlessly manicured bent grass. And it's the very specific crinkle of the green plastic wrapper on a simple pimento cheese sandwich.
A classic.
Exactly. We are talking about Augusta National, the Masters. And by design, it's supposed to be the most familiar, unchanging piece of real estate in all of sports. But if you look at the stack of sources and player interviews we are unpacking for this deep dive, they reveal a starkly different reality for the 2026 tournament.
Yeah, it really does feel different this time.
It does. Beneath those comforting traditions, there's just a massive seismic shift happening this week. So our mission today is to figure out why the ground is moving. We need to understand how this particular golf course is acting as an unyielding lie detector, and why the deciding factor this year has absolutely nothing to do with physical skill.
It is a profound transition we're witnessing. I mean, spending the better part of the last 5 decades walking those fairways, standing behind the 18th green as the sun dips behind the Georgia pines, you learn something fundamental about Augusta National.
Yeah.
It is a living, breathing entity. And it fundamentally does not care about your reputation.
Wow.
It only rewards a deep, almost spiritual understanding of its terrain. So the defining narrative of the 2026 Masters is a definitive end to the era of established, predictable hierarchy.
Those dominant figures we just subconsciously assumed would always be there.
Right. Exactly. We have crossed the threshold into an era of thrilling, highly combustible volatility. And the central thesis we have to keep in mind today, what the data and the history are telling us, is that the winner this year won't be the player who executes the most spectacular highlight reel shots.
Right.
It will be the player who commits the fewest emotional errors.
That's a huge claim.
Yeah.
And I think to understand who is actually going to conquer Augusta in this new era of volatility, we have to start by looking at a massive void.
Absences.
Yes, the absences this year are completely altering the locker room psychology. Because for the first time since 1994, neither Tiger Woods nor Phil Mickelson is teeing it up.
Which is just wild to think about.
It really is. And the sources present the unvarnished facts here. Phil is out, dealing with an extended personal health matter, and Tiger is stepping away to seek treatment following a highly publicized incident.
Right, the situation in Florida.
Yeah, a 2-car crash and a DUI arrest down in Jupiter. The police affidavit noted he appeared lethargic, and, while he blew a .000 on a breathalyzer, he refused a urine test. Now, we are reporting these details impartially just because they are in our source material, but the tabloid aspect isn't really what matters for the tournament, right?
No, not at all. What matters is the psychological gravity.
Exactly. Removing Tiger and Phil from the Masters is like suddenly turning off the gravitational pull of a solar system. Does that power vacuum create total chaos, or does it, liberate the rest of the field from the shadow of these titans?
Well, consider the reality of playing a competitive round at Augusta over the last 30 years.
Okay.
The psychological gravity wasn't just a metaphor. It was a physical force. Even if Tiger or Phil were 3 groups ahead of you and not even leading the tournament, their presence dictated the entire environment.
Because of the crowd noise.
The roars. You could hear the roars echoing through the pines. You knew exactly what they were doing. The patrons' energy was entirely focused on them, and the media oxygen was totally consumed by them.
Right, so everyone else is just an opening act.
Exactly. The rest of the field had to play their own game while constantly reacting to that external pressure. With that shadow removed, the air is suddenly very thin. And this vacuum is compounded by the fact that the current generation of stars is arriving physically compromised.
Oh, like Colin Morikawa.
Yes, Morikawa. He is dealing with a lingering back injury for the Players' Championship. He's admitted he's in a severe mental battle right now, just trying to trust his own body.
Which is tough.
It is. It's forced him to completely scrap his usual, highly methodical game plan.
But nature abhors a vacuum, right?
Right.
Into that massive empty space, we're seeing this totally fearless influx of international amateur and emerging talent.
They're rushing the gates.
They literally are. You have Maria Jose Marin, who already proved she possesses the nerve to handle this specific property by winning the Augusta National Women's Amateur.
A fantastic performance.
And then there's J.J. Spaun, who basically kicked down the back door to get his invitation by winning in Texas at the absolute last possible second.
You see, When you remove the intimidation factor of the old guard, you invite that exact kind of fearless volatility.
Because they aren't scared of the ghosts.
Right. These new players are stepping onto the first tee without the accumulated scar tissue that Augusta inevitably inflicts. They swing freely because they haven't yet learned the harsh lessons this specific piece of land demands.
They don't know what they don't know.
Exactly. They haven't stood over a delicate chip on the 15th knowing a fraction of an inch means the ball rolls back into the water. That lack of scar tissue is it's a temporary superpower. But history shows us that ignorance is eventually punished here.
Okay, so let's look at the contenders who do have that scar tissue. The established players are bringing an entirely different set of psychological baggage to the first tee.
Very different.
Take the defending champion, Rory McIlroy. The sources paint this fascinating picture of a man who has finally totally exhaled.
It's noticeable.
Winning the 2025 Masters completed his career Grand Slam. It ended a decade of agonizing, suffocating pressure for him, and you can see it in his schedule. He didn't even show up on Monday for the intense, grueling practice grind.
No, he came in late.
He rolled in on Saturday. He spent the afternoon just watching his 5-year-old daughter, Poppy, putt on the practice green. He even told the press, "I wouldn't care if the tournament never started."
It's a stunning admission.
Yeah.
And it extends right through to his hosting of the Champions Dinner.
Oh, the menu.
Yes, the menu he put together is incredibly telling of his state of mind. He served his mother Rosie's bacon-wrapped goat cheese dates, a yellowfin carpaccio inspired by Le Bernardin, and wild oat sliders.
That sounds amazing.
It's an eclectic, highly personal, relaxed menu. It's not the menu of a man who is tightly wound or obsessing over swing mechanics.
Right. But, okay, I have to push back on that relaxed mindset for a second.
Go ahead.
When I hear an elite athlete say, "I wouldn't care if the tournament never started," I immediately wonder if the fire is out. Like, if you've been chasing this one specific ghost for 10 years and you finally catch it, does McIlroy's newfound peace actually dull the competitive killer instinct? You absolutely need to survive the back nine on Sunday.
It's a very logical assumption. But Augusta National is a paradox.
Yeah.
It actually punishes desperation.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In all my years observing this tournament, the players who try to force the course to yield to their will, the ones who grip the club the tightest because they want it so badly, they are the ones who inevitably drown in Rae's Creek.
Wow, okay.
Rory's peace might be his ultimate weapon this year. By removing the desperation of the Grand Slam chase, he could simply play golf. And we can contrast McIlroy's organic relaxation with someone like Matt Fitzpatrick.
Right, the sources mentioned him.
Fitzpatrick just won at Valspar. His form is statistically incredible right now, but he is actively employing a sports psychologist to artificially lower his own expectations.
Artificially lowering them. That's so counterintuitive.
It is, but he recognizes that arriving at Augusta feeling invincible, expecting to dominate the field, is a fatal flaw.
It's fascinating how these players have to manipulate their own brains just to survive the week. And then you have Scottie Scheffler, who has an entirely different psychological anchor this year.
The new baby.
Yeah, he is trying to balance major championship preparation with having a newborn son, Remy. The sources literally note he is genuinely terrified of getting baby spit up on his green jacket.
Which is hilarious. But Scheffler's situation with his newborn is actually a brilliant, if accidental, psychological grounding mechanism.
How so?
Well, when you're worried about baby spit up or operating on fragmented sleep, your brain doesn't have the capacity to obsess over a slightly pulled drive or a missed four-footer.
Oh, it's just triage at that point.
Right. It alters the biochemical stress response. The Masters suddenly feels a little less like life or death, which ironically makes him incredibly dangerous on the golf course.
That makes so much sense. We also can't ignore the geopolitical tensions of modern golf here. The LIV versus PGA dynamic is still simmering on this massive stage.
Always in the background.
Yeah. You look at Jon Rahm, and an impartial observer just sees a guy projecting absolute bulletproof calm. He's hunting his third major. He's coming off a live win in Hong Kong. And despite an ongoing dispute over a $3 million fine with the DP World Tour, he is telling anyone who will listen that he is totally confident he'll be playing in the 2027 Ryder Cup.
It's a masterclass in compartmentalization.
Completely.
But Rahm's compartmentalization is impressive only until we juxtapose it with Bryson DeChambeau, where there is no compartmentalization whatsoever.
None.
There is only high-octane fuel. Bryson openly acknowledges his respect for Rory, but in the exact same breath, he told the media he wants to, and I'm quoting here, beat the living you-know-what out of McIlroy to avenge his loss at last year's Masters.
It's a remarkable cocktail of traditional sportsmanship and raw, unvarnished aggression.
It really is.
But how does that raw aggression survive the physical reality of the golf course? Because the sources detail how the course itself has been subtly weaponized for 2026.
Well, the setup is brutal this year.
Yeah, the weather forecast is setting up a literal trap. Tuesday is gorgeous, sitting in the mid-70s, but Wednesday brings a dry, cold front. We're talking about winds picking up and the humidity plummeting to between 20 and 35%.
Which changes everything.
And then it stays dry and warms up into the 80s for the weekend. On top of that, they've altered the 17th hole. They lengthened it by 10 yards, making it a 450-yard par 4, which pushes the total course length to 7,565 yards.
It's a beast.
So can you break down what those specific weather conditions and that extra yardage actually do to the players, like mechanically?
A dry, cold front at Augusta National is an exercise in architectural terror. Let me explain the mechanics of why.
Please do.
When the humidity drops to 20% and the wind blows, the Augusta agronomy team utilizes their sub-air systems.
Right.
These are massive subterranean vacuums installed beneath every single green. They literally suck the moisture out of the clay and the root systems.
Oh.
The bent grass bakes out. Those already undulating putting surfaces become glassy, frictionless, and just terrifyingly fast. This is exactly why Augusta is the ultimate lie detector.
I want to stick with that lie detector concept for a second. It's not just a dramatic metaphor, is it? It's pure physics.
Yes.
Like, it's not a sweaty interrogation room. It's more like a mathematical equation that exposes any microscopic flaw in your swing.
Precisely. And the specific lie the course detects is your distance control.
Not direction.
Amateurs focus almost entirely on hitting the ball straight. At Augusta, direction is largely secondary. Distance control is the entire ballgame.
Because of the green?
Because of those sub-air systems baking out the greens, if you hit your approach shot even 3 paces above the hole, the physics of the slope mean you are mathematically doomed. You will be putting defensively down a glass surface where merely breathing on the ball might send it rolling 20 yards off the front edge.
That sounds like a nightmare.
You absolutely must keep your approach shots below the hole. Now connect that to the 17th hole being lengthened by 10 yards.
Right. It doesn't sound like a lot.
10 yards might sound trivial to a listener, but it changes the entire physics of the approach. Instead of hitting a highly lofted 9-iron that generates enough backspin to hold those baked-out greens, a player is now forced to hit a 7-iron.
Which comes in lower.
Exactly. The ball comes in at a lower trajectory with less spin, making it infinitely harder to stop the ball below the hole. It requires an exquisite, almost psychic command of how the wind will affect the flight and exactly how the ball will bounce on baked-out turf.
No one illustrates the humbling nature of this physical lie detector better than Bryson DeChambeau. We have to rewind the tape to 2020 for a second.
Oh, the par 67 comment.
Yes. Bryson, fresh off, bulking up, arrogantly declared that Augusta National was a par 67 for him. He believed he could just use brute force, drive the ball over the trouble, and bludgeon the course into submission.
It was the ultimate display of the arrogance of youth and raw power. And the golf course responded by systematically dismantling him.
It really did.
He has never shot better than 69 there. Now, 6 years later, listen to the language he uses. He no longer talks about overpowering the property. He preaches obedience.
Obedience.
He talks about extreme patience, about aiming for the fat parts of the greens, about ensuring his misses are in the correct designated bailout areas. He finally realized he had to trade ball bashing for strategic surrender. It is a legendary golf course teaching a generational talent a brutal lesson in humility.
Obedience. That is heavy. You don't beat Augusta, you submit to it. But overcoming the physical demands, the wind, the frictionless greens, the sheer length of the course, that's only half the battle.
It is.
The true decider of the 2026 Masters, and honestly the most profound layer of our deep dive today, is the internal battle. It's pure emotional survival. And the sources provide this incredibly moving story about Gary Woodland that illustrates this perfectly.
Woodland's journey is one of the most powerful, complex narratives we have seen in modern sports.
Let me set the stage for you listening. Gary Woodland underwent brain surgery in 2023 to remove a tumor. Since then, he has been battling intense anxiety and PTSD. He opened up about how, during tournaments, His brain slips into hypervigilance. He literally feels like people are trying to kill him.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. We think of a golf course as this peaceful, pastoral sanctuary. But for Woodland, a sudden movement like a fan shifting in the gallery, a walking scorer checking a device, a camera operator running past it triggers a massive neurological panic response. It's like his brain thinks he's in a war zone. To counteract this, he implemented an incredible strategy. He coordinated with Augusta's security team. He requires a direct visual line of sight to a specialized security detail on every single hole. Yeah, if he can physically see them, he can consciously override his amygdala and remind his brain, I am safe. He actually used this exact brain hack to win in Houston just 2 weeks prior. He admitted that turning around and seeing that security personnel was the only reason he was able to swing the club.
It is a profound testament to human resilience.
Yeah.
And it reveals something critical about performance under pressure. If we look at Woodland's deeply personal battle, we're seeing the extreme clinical end of the psychological dimension that every single player faces at the Masters.
Right.
When you walk deep into the pines at Augusta, away from the grandstands, the environment changes. It's not like the chaotic noise of a stadium. There is an eerie, suffocating silence.
The silence is loud.
And in that silence, every small doubt a player harbors is amplified tenfold. You can literally hear your own heartbeat. You feel the crushing invisible weight of history standing right over your shoulder.
That resonates so much, even for those of us who don't play professional golf. I mean, whether you're walking into a high-stakes boardroom, dealing with daily anxieties, or just trying to force an outcome in your own life, the quiet moments are always the hardest.
Always.
The quiet forces you to confront your own internal monologue. Like Colin Morikawa, out there battling the physical pain of his back, but also enduring the mental anguish of abandoning the swing mechanics that made him a champion, just trying to piece together a score through sheer willpower and a hot putter.
That internal confrontation brings us right back to our central thesis. When you combine the psychological vacuum left by the legends, the baked-out sub-air greens acting as lie detectors, and the suffocating silence of the pines, you realize what actually wins the tournament.
It is.
The green jacket goes to the player who exercises the most agonizing patience. It goes to the player who manages their emotional energy, who accepts a frustrating bogey on the 11th hole instead of compounding the error into a triple bogey by attempting a hero shot through the trees.
Right, not forcing it.
Under absolute pressure, the 2026 Masters will be won by the player who commits the fewest emotional errors.
Well, let's pull all these threads together. The 2026 Masters is fundamentally different. It is a profound turning point for the sport. The gravitational pull of the old guard is gone. We have a power vacuum filled by fearless rookies and highly scarred veterans carrying complex emotional baggage.
Completely new landscape.
Exactly. The course itself is baked out fast and unforgiving, acting as a ruthless physics equation testing distance control. Above all, the mental toll required to simply survive the quiet of the pines, to manage your own expectations, and to slip on that green jacket has never been more extreme.
It leaves you with a truly compelling lens through which to view the weekend.
Definitely.
Because if Augusta National is, at its very core, a pristine, unforgiving mirror that reflects a player's truest self when the pressure is absolute, what will this year's tournament reveal about the soul of this new, highly volatile generation of golf?
That is the ultimate question.
As you watch the action unfold, do not merely watch to see who hits the ball the furthest or who sinks the longest putt. Watch it as a high-stakes psychological drama, where the ultimate opponent is never the course, but always oneself.